I wasn't originally going to buy this plugin, so today I'm going to show you why I did. Before we jump into that, first off, thanks for coming by. Thanks for checking out the video. There's a bunch of affiliate links down below in the description, and also some links for some templates I have available. And if you want to get help with your mixes, you can reach out to me through one of those links there. So I have this mix. This is kind of my ongoing test session. It's like a perpetually unfinished mix. I use this for testing new plugins. I use it for testing new techniques. I use it for doing videos for you guys. And I came in the other day. Well, here, first of all, here is what the mix kind of sounds like. Now, I came in here last week and I opened up this session and it did not sound like that. It sounded more like this. It just didn't sound right to me. Something felt off. It felt like the whole thing had fallen apart. And granted, sometimes I do screw this mix up intentionally because I'm trying out new things. I knew that something was off. And the one thing I knew that had changed about this mix is a demo of a plugin I'd been trying out had expired. And that plugin was this dynamic grading from Playfair Audio. And just to give you a sense of what this does, here, let me turn it on and off on the bass guitar. Just listen to the bass. So without this plugin, it's just like the bass just falls out, the piano disappears. I've got it on the piano, and it was something that it turned out was helping a lot more than I realized. Now, this dynamic grading plugin, in some ways, it's sort of just a compressor or expander, because it'll do both. But it has kind of a unique approach, and it's a sort of unique way, I think, of looking at how you're treating dynamics. And it was something that I'd seen articles on this. I'd seen some demos of it. And I got a sense that I think there's something to this that might really be helpful for me. But all the demos that I watched, they didn't really make sense for me for what I would use it for. Like, I saw a lot of stuff with this on drums, and a lot of these demos, it just wasn't something I was looking for. But on other instruments where I really do want to control the dynamic range of things a lot more, I think this is pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to walk you through how this thing kind of works. And before I do that, I'm going to reinitialize everything. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. It's kind of a very different interface than what you're probably used to with compressors. Even though it is kind of under the hood, that's basically what it is. So on the left here, we have our threshold controls. And what you can see is there are two thresholds. And what this plugin allows us to do is to treat different parts of our signal level in different ways. A lot of people look at this and they think, oh, it's a multi-band compressor, and it's not. What it can allow us to do is to take different sections of our signal level. So like when our signal level is here, we can tell it to treat that range a certain way. And then when the signal level is up here, we can treat that range a certain way. And then when it's up here, we can treat that range a certain way. And the way you kind of figure this out is with the histogram that's on here. So here, let me play a little bit of this bass, and you can kind of see what it looks like to begin with without doing anything to anything. All right, so we have these histograms. There's the one on the left, that's our source, and then there's kind of what is going out, which is where that target is on the right. So the histogram, in a way, it's sort of a level meter, but it's more of a like kind of averaged meter, and it shows us basically the dynamics of our signal over a certain amount of time. We can adjust the amount of time we see down here in this time window, which defaults to 8 bars right off the bat. Now for me, 8 bars, I think that's too long. That's almost a verse. And for a lot of songs, it is a verse. So I like to shorten this to 1 or 2. I'm going to go to 2 to start with. And let's play this back and see what we see. I'm even going to go to 1. So I can kind of see this sort of moving around, and it's kind of a wider dynamic here. So as this is sort of wider on there, and maybe we'll look at a piano and you can see this with that as well. But that means we've got kind of a dynamic signal, and I don't want this bass to be crazy dynamic. I need it to be the foundation for the track. I need it to support things. And right in here, he's like playing 16th notes on the bass. It's really hard to get those even. So I want to adjust the threshold to sort of cover that range of the energy, basically, like the primary energy of the signal. And that's really what we see with our source here. I'm going to go back to 2 bars for that. And by the way, this time window down here, this only affects the histogram. This has nothing to do with the behavior of the processing. So the plugin splits these different signal ranges up into 3 components. They call it punch, body, and floor. The body being kind of the meat of the whole signal, which is what we've got right here. And it's what I want to adjust right now to begin with. By the way, I should mention Playfair Audio has a free version of kind of a stripped down version of this plugin. It's called Body, and it basically is just this sort of body section of the plugin. It's missing some controls that you may or may not want, but it's kind of a gateway in a way, because I had been playing with that, which led me to demo this full version. But you can get that free one. You just sign up for their newsletter. So with this bass, I've got these thresholds kind of adjusted. And what I want to do is I want to compress the kind of meat of the signal there. And I'm going to do that just right here in this body section. So now I know you're thinking, it's like, but Dave, we've got lots of compressors. I know, I own a lot of compressors. The thing that this does, though, that's different is, since we have this punch section up here, basically, if you look over here on our signal meter, pay attention to these peaks right here. That's the transient of our signal. That's where a lot of the articulation and detail and things like that from a bass, especially, like, I need that pluck of the string. The thing about this dynamic grading is I can compress everything, but since I'm only compressing in this area, like this area right here, I'm going to leave those peaks untouched to begin with. The other side of this, though, is I can also take those peaks and I can expand them a little bit. In a lot of ways, this gives me the ability to get more of the detail kind of out of there and still get the signal compressed. In some ways, this is kind of what we end up doing sometimes with parallel compression, but I can do it all in one, and it's just a lot easier to do it. Now, there are some other controls over here. We've got this response control, which is kind of like an attack control, and then the release is basically just standard kind of release thing. But what you can see on this histogram, and here, let me go longer so that it stays up here a little bit more. So what this is doing is it's taking that energy of the bass and it is making it more focused, which is going to give my signal more energy. Like, in a lot of ways, I look at this plugin as an energy management tool. And you can just kind of see how, like, the graph, it's almost like it funnels that power into one place and kind of holds it there. Now, the other thing you can do with this, with the floor, like, we can take all of the signal down below here and we can expand that. So if you've got something that's noisy, you can make it quieter. And I'm sure there are other things that you can do with this that I haven't even thought about yet. But, you know, just for grins here, let's put this back in the mix and see what happens. When I turn it off, I just feel like the energy from the low end, that foundation, it's just gone, just falls apart. So I think this might be my new go-to bass compressor, which was a big reason why I went and bought this. Now, the other control over here that I didn't mention is the spectrum control. This is kind of like a sidechain filter that you can put on things. Like, if I want to emphasize more of the low frequencies, I can kind of tilt it more to brown noise, basically. Like, these are all different types of noise. Like, you've got white noise, brown noise, pink noise. I usually just leave it as pink, but you might want to play around with that a little bit. I think this is like a wet dry knob down here, this amount kind of thing. So if you want to play around with that, you can. But right here, you can just kind of see, like, this is sort of the dynamic curve that I'm creating from what I'm doing here. And if I adjust, like, the floor, so, you know, to sort of expand that a little bit, you can really make these steeper, or, you know, if I wanted to kind of bring up the floor, I can do that as well. It'll probably be really noisy, I'm just imagining. So that's on a bass guitar. Let's hop down to the piano and see what's going on with the piano. So one of the big things that I noticed kind of right away with pianos, especially this one, is this side over here, our source. There's definitely more dynamic to it. So I wanted to kind of focus that more. So if I take this in and out here, check this out. Yes, it's making it louder, but that's kind of the whole point for me. I want to take this thing that is dynamic and I want to focus the energy so that it stands out. That's a natural thing that happens when we are actually controlling dynamics. This idea of sort of loudness matching, I mean, like, you don't want to get fooled because now everything got louder, but in general, you can't perfectly loudness match. I'm telling you guys, if you've got something that has a really wide dynamic range and then you focus it in, which part of that dynamic range are you matching your loudness to? The quiet stuff or the loud stuff? You can't really match it. For me, the ultimate test is, does it stand up in the mix? Does this help it stand up with the other instruments? And if I take this in and out, it doesn't stand up without this. Like, this dynamic grading right here is holding that piano in the mix up against the guitars and the drums and keeping it all in there together. So one of the things I'm doing in here is I'm adding a little more on the punch side of things, because a piano is actually a percussion instrument, believe it or not. And I want to sort of accent those hits while kind of tightening up or focusing the energy a little bit more. So let me kind of see if I can toggle this. This isn't like an over-the-top difference, but I can hear it. It is definitely poking out a little bit more in the way that I want when I add that punch to things. Now, another control over here you can do, there's like this little sort of magic wand thing here. If you hover over that while you're playing, it will kind of auto set the thresholds for you. Now, if I click on that, it will set the threshold to that. So here, let's just do it. Now it's doing a lot of weird kind of pumping, which, I mean, maybe that could be cool for some things, but for this, I don't think so. So let me readjust this threshold. You know, one of the things you'll notice here, like, I'm turning down makeup gain from this, from the compression that's going on here. I'm actually turning things down on the end because I'm focusing the energy a little bit more. And I mean, yeah, it's sort of focusing up, but it's bringing up the detail. It's bringing up the quieter stuff in here. It's bringing up more of that piano sustain. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I really like this thing, this dynamic grading. Like I said, I purchased this. This is not a sponsored video. These are really the kinds of plugins that I like these days and sort of gravitate towards, like the plugins that are doing things in a different way than what we're used to. Like, I love vintage compressors and all the vintage stuff, but there is just so much of that stuff out there. For me, this lets me approach a challenge in mixing in a way that I haven't been able to approach it before. Like, there's things that I've done that have kind of gotten me similar results, but it's all just in one package. And if I want to get some of the kind of color from a vintage unit, I can pop that on after this or before it and really sort of get the best of all worlds. Or just, there's so many saturation plugins these days that kind of do that vintagey color kind of stuff that we like. I could just throw that on after this or before it even. And I don't know, I'm just really digging this thing. So dynamic grading from Playfair Audio. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the demo. Go play around with the free version, the body one, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below if you've tried this out and liked it, or maybe you didn't like it. Whatever the case, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. And if you've got some tricks and things that you like doing with this, let me know, because it's like in my arsenal now, and it's something I'm going to use quite a bit, I think. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.